Hi, I'm Jordan from Johnny's Box, and today we're going to talk about whether it's better to build or buy your PC in 2022. So we put out a video before kind of detailing this stuff, but it was at the beginning of last year. The market has changed, new stuff has come out. Figured it would be a good idea to kind of refresh this for anybody who is looking to, answer this question since the old video wasn't as accurate. Places have changed their stock, all that good stuff. But first I went to Newegg to put a system together to compare to Prebuilts. One of my favorite cases on the market is the Cooler Master H500, just the basic H500. I own one H500, an H500P mesh, and an H500M. The H500, just the base H500, is the best deal by far. For motherboard, we went with the basic B550 from Gigabyte. You can use the Q-Flash feature to update the BIOS without having to have a CPU that works with it currently, and all that is just very user friendly. So, and that's what we're going with here, because most of the time if you're looking to build or buy, this is probably going to be your first build. Power supply, we have an 850 watt EVGA Supernova. EVGA makes great products. They stand behind them. Easy choice, 850 watts. There's upgrade path there. I mean, it's going to be usable. It's fully modular. Not a bad choice. Processor, we went with a Ryzen 5 5600X. We're building this system assuming that it is a gaming PC. It's not a huge editing workstation or anything like that. The 5600X almost has gaming performance on par with a 5900X, which is almost twice the price. Easy decision. Well, and right here, it's the #1 bestseller on Newegg. For RAM, we went with Corsair Vengeance RGB. They make great stuff. It's 4000 megahertz, so the Infinity fabric on the Ryzen CPU can utilize that RAM to really maximize its performance. For GPU, we went with the 3060 Ti. Best price we could find on this was $938. This was one of the lower priced ones. This was really the cheapest 500 gig PCIe 4.0 M.2 drive I could find. Gonna give you the best speeds you can get. To change it up and make it a little bit more fair this time, because I think last time I went with an air cooler, which was like $60. Because most of these pre-builts go with an AIO, I put an AIO on there. And I was like, I don't want to just pick like the ugliest one either. So I got one that, uses the same RGB, addressable RGB as the case. So it's all Cooler Master, 240 mil. That will mount on the top of the H500 case. Total, as you can see, is $1,951.43. That is not including Windows. So if we tack Windows on there, if you want to buy a full version of Windows off of Newegg, you're looking at over $2,000. That's our first build, or that's our build that we're comparing all these pre-builds to. This is something that I didn't wait for any crazy deals or anything. I just hopped on Newegg and I said, what can I build right now? So like last time, we're going to move on to our first pre-built, which is Nzxt Build. Now, as you can see here, this one's coming out at about the same price that our Newegg build did. It's about $2,053.91. First off, the case itself is not as good as our case. The H510 is not known for airflow whatsoever. It's actually known for running pretty hot. Luckily, the components we have aren't known for running amazingly hot either. With the 5600X with an X63 AIO, which is a 280 mil, I believe. It's a 280 mil liquid AIO. So that would mount on the front of the case on the intake. And then you have a 120 in the top and a 120 in the back. B550 motherboard, comparable to the one we had. Same CPU. GPU. Rather than a 3060, an actual 3070 Ti, which isn't even comparable. Like, that is a way better card. Literally, I couldn't even put a 3060 Ti in here to compare. And I don't know if I'd want to, if it's literally the same price and I can get that much more performance. We also have a 750 watt power supply. All right, for storage, we went with a Fire CUDA 520 M.2. It is PCIe 4.0 to compare to our Sobrent. We also have 16 gigs of 4000 megahertz Team T-Force Extreme RGB RAM, which very comparable to our Corsair. So NZXT is looking pretty good right now. You're spending the same as you would on a pre-built. Everything's covered under warranty, and you get a 3070 Ti compared to a 3060 Ti, which is just stupid. I believe that's 35 to 40% better GPU performance for the same price. Next on the list, we have main gear. Now, they had a couple different options. They had a base model that started with the 3060, which was a couple $100 cheaper than our build, but it wasn't really a good comparison. It was kind of just like, it had an air cooler, it wasn't really apples to apples. So I went to the next step, which put it closer into the price range as well. This one's $2,100, and this is the R1 with an RTX 3070 Founders Edition. So you actually get an NVIDIA 3070 Founders Edition, which is really one of the best ones out there. And you get the Ryzen 7 5800X, which is an 8-core, so you get 2 more cores, better GPU, the Cooler Master 240mm AIO, MSI B550 motherboard, 16 gigs of 3600 megahertz RAM. So that is a little bit lower than our build, but keep in mind you do get 2 more cores in your CPU and a way better graphics card with the 3070. I believe that 512 Intel 660p NVMe drive, that is PCIe Gen 3. So you're not going to see the speeds out of that, but that's also something you can easily upgrade in the future. And you get an additional 1 terabyte hard disk drive by Seagate. The only thing about this build that kind of worries me is a 500 watt EVGA power supply seems very, very close to being on the limit of being able to power this. A 500 watt power supply is not a ton. Now, that's something they do sell it, and I guess you have your warranty and everything. So if you ever had any issues with it, you could, use that warranty and say, hey, this doesn't even work. If you were building it yourself, I definitely wouldn't recommend a 500 watt power supply. But again, this is a pre-built that comes with a warranty. I think it's $40 more or like $50 more than our build, has a better GPU and a better CPU. So that's not even comparable, having those extra cores and 3070. I think this is more of a jump than the Nzxt build, even just because 3070 Ti isn't that much more powerful than 3070. It's very close. It's like 3 or 4%. Having the 3070 and also getting the 8 cores rather than the 6 cores and the 5800X, that's just a whole different ballgame. Yet again, that's 2 out of 2 so far, looking better than building our own. And last but not least, we have Build Redux. Now, this is a brand that I wasn't too familiar with previously. When I used their website to try and do the build, they didn't have a lot of information on there, but I am happy to say that they were a lot more detailed now when I was putting the build together. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So first off, for graphics, we went with the 3060 Ti. It's the same one that we're running in the Newegg build we put together. So we figured, hey, having the pre-built with that, let's try it since it's an option. Processor, same one, 5600X. Memory. This is where I had the biggest issue with Build Redux. Before, they didn't even have like detailed specs. Now, if I click on this, it says, okay, if you have a 5600X 6-core, this is what frequency we will pair with it. Now, it's 3200 megahertz, which isn't amazing, but it gets the job done for sure. It'll still work. It's not 4000, but we're not trying to squeak every ounce of performance out of this thing. For storage, everything was PCIe Gen 3. So we just went with 500 gig. So for this build, this is so close. It's a little bit less performance, not too much. We have a PCIe Gen 3 rather than Gen 4 storage. And then our RAM is a little bit slower, but we are almost $400 cheaper than our build. It's a pretty good price for all that performance. But here's the real kicker. We started with a 3060 Ti, and we're at $1,600 right now. We can add a 3070, and we're still $200 cheaper. All in all, I would say that things are even worse than they were last year. Not so much in part availability. You can definitely get your hands on parts easier now than you could last year. The problem is the prices are just as high, if not a little bit higher than our last version of this video, which is a bummer because a lot of people are trying to get into PC gaming. The people who are in PC gaming may need to upgrade their rigs to stay in PC gaming, and everything is so expensive right now that it's really hindering people from doing builds that they're trying to do, or upgrade, or, you know, even just, you know, share this hobby with other people. You know, they've talked to their friends for years and finally got them talked into, oh man, they're excited to get into PC gaming. Then they see these prices and it's just the world we live in right now. So wish I had better news for everybody. But if you did like the video, please drop us a like down below, comment, share, all that good stuff, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that already. If you want to check out our recent PC build, go ahead and click the video right there. And if you want to check out one of the coolest keyboards I've ever seen, click on that right there. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.